Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in this video I'll be doing my review of NXT Vengeance Day 2024. So the show started off with the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, with Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin defeating Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. I thought this was a decent match. It didn't end the way I expected it to, the way I expected kind of ended the show pretty much. But yeah, I thought this was a good tag team match. These are two teams that are made up of four singles guys predominantly. But yeah, they seem to have really good chemistry between the four of them, and like I think it goes to show like how NXT is once again working the way it used to back when it was black and gold and it was in the Capitol Wrestling Center, which I mean it's the same place now, but when it was called that. And kind of when NXT was in its prime, like having four guys who I said are predominantly singles have a really good tag match shows that they are literally learning everything in NXT, and it's why NXT works as an idea so well. And I know we had blips kind of when NXT 2.0 came along in 2020, 2021. But you know, I know that Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker were two of the top guys coming out of NXT 2.0, but seeing where they are now and seeing that they're now being put onto the main roster on Raw and SmackDown, it's just good to see, and it's the great natural progression of NXT kind of as a whole, as you have a guy from the past in Baron Corbin with three members of the future in Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker. So yeah, it was just a really excellent showcase of what NXT is and all the different aspects of NXT and what they learned down there anyway. So yeah, it's a really good way to start the show. So not the way I expected it to go down, but Baron Corbin and Bron Breakker made the most sense to get the win here. Following that, we had Dijak defeat Joe Gacy in a no disqualification match. For me, this match was actually really fun. It's one of the matches I unexpectedly enjoyed. Yeah, it's my kind of thing, the extreme stuff. I enjoyed how Joe Gacy, though enduring a load of punishment, was smiling throughout. Even when he took the pin, he was smiling. The table spot with the toys on top of the table, Dijak only just making the table, like they should have been a little bit more to the right when he springboarded himself off the ropes, but was still a very cool moment in this match. I think the only thing that's really missed was maybe a bit of blood, especially on the part of Joe Gacy, but I understand why they don't, with it all being PG and all that stuff. But yeah, myself, I'm becoming quite a big fan of Joe Gacy. All this stuff that he's doing with his character fits him quite well. And yeah, he just seems to absolutely kill it whenever he's in ring. And yeah, I said I'm very much becoming a fan of Joe Gacy. And as far as Dijak goes, I see him as just a safe pair of hands. At this point, you know, he's been in NXT for a very, very long time. I know he had his stint on the main roster as part of Retribution, but yeah, he just seems to be one of those safe hands, almost like the Dolph Ziggler or Baron Corbin of the main rosters. You now have Dijak in NXT, which I think is a really good place for him. You know, he's someone who does get wins, but loses when he needs to, and when it benefits other superstars. So yeah, for me, this match was a positive all around. The match was really fun to watch. It almost actually got my match of the night. It was so enjoyable, but I knew I had to give it to a different match down the line. But yeah, very enjoyable match. Definitely go watch it if you can. It didn't go too long or anything like that. It was pretty much perfect time wise, and yeah, just a really fun one to put on like a second into the show. After that, we had the D'Angelo family defeat OTM in a 6-person tag match. This was really good, though I thought that the wrong team won. The OTM looked great in defeat. I feel like they cut the ring off really well. They targeted Stacks throughout I'd probably say they had control of the match for the most part, with obviously cutting Stacks off away from his partners. I thought the women had a really good showing in this one, and we had the kind of what usually comes in a mixed tag match where the heel woman will take out the face man, which I thought was always a good trope. Having that man and woman interaction, it doesn't always have to be a negative that there's man and women interacting inside a wrestling ring. And yeah, I feel like coming out of this one, though we know that Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin are the new #1 contenders to the D'Angelo family for the tag team championships, I feel like OTM could interject themselves here. As I said, I know they lost, but I feel like they're definitely a team that will be NXT champion in the future. And yeah, I thought they looked brilliant and came out the better team in this one, just from a look wise rather than the D'Angelo family. And yeah, I can definitely see them becoming NXT Tag Team Champions in the future and kind of being the main team of the NXT brand at some point, which is something I definitely look forward to. I say they looked great in defeat. D'Angelo family looked good getting the win. Though I do feel like we need to move the championships on a bit because I'm not that overly invested in the D'Angelo family anymore as tag team champions. So yeah, I definitely hope that they lose the championships just because it's gone a bit stale over the last few months, in my opinion anyway. Following that, we had Lyra Valkyria successfully retain the NXT Women's Championship against Roxanne Perez and Lola Vice, who cashed in her breakout tournament title shot mid-match, which I thought was a strange idea. I'm not sure whether she picked the right moment overall to cash it in. It wasn't as if both participants in the match were like down and out. Like at the time, Valkyria was down in the corner, but Roxanne Perez was like perfectly fine at the time. So I feel like the cash-in wasn't the best idea. I understand why they've done it as far as getting it out of the way almost. It did feel like a bit of an inconvenience. But yeah, so it didn't really make most sense at all. The match before the cash-in was very evenly contested. The wrestling was very good. Again, another match that could have got match of the night if it had carried on that way. But as soon as Lola Vice got involved, it kind of broke down a bit. You know, we had Tatum Paxley also get involved as well on behalf of Lyra Valkyria. I think she cost Roxanne Perez the match, as I think it was Lola who took the pin at the end, though I can't remember, it was a couple of days ago. But yeah, I would have much preferred this match go on as just Lyra and Roxanne rather than Lola cash in her shot. But yeah, I am curious to see where the storyline goes with Tatum Paxley. I assume at some point she'll just want a title match and she will attempt to take the title from Lyra Valkyria, but I can't see Tatum Paxley becoming the next NXT Women's Champion. And as for Roxanne Perez, I'm not sure where she goes from here because I don't think she would fit well into the main roster, but there's really not much else for her to do as far as NXT goes either. Like, she's a former tag champion, she's a former women's champion. I know that she said like one of the main things behind this feud was the fact that she never lost the NXT Women's Championship and she didn't get pinned here either. So maybe that'll set up a rematch, but then you kind of just rinse repeating the idea of this match as well, which of course isn't great when you just repeating ideas. But yes, it seems that Roxanne Perez is on a more violent path. She seems to be going into a feud with Lola Vice, which makes the most sense. After you could say that Lola cost Roxanne the match, though I think Tatum Paxley actually cost Roxanne the match. But as for Valkyria, I don't know who she faces at Stand and Deliver for the NXT Women's Championship. Whether they do a ladder match like they did last year, but I know the title's vacant at the time. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what she's going to do. I'd say no one really sticks out as main contenders for the championship, so I look forward to seeing where that goes in the future. But I'm sure it'll be good, of course. Whether Lyra Valkyria is still a champion after Stand and Deliver, I do think so, to be fair. I can't see her coming up to the main roster anytime soon, and her title reign is only a few matches in as far as defenses go. So yeah, I expect a decently long reign for Lyra Valkyria. And so yeah, I think with Tiffany Stratton as well going to the main roster, I feel like, you know, we need to start building the women's division in NXT up more, and then I feel like Stand and Deliver is a good place to do that. But I said this was a decent match overall, but would have preferred it if Lola didn't cash in her breakout tournament title shot. Following that, we had Obafemi successfully retain the North American Championship against Dragon Lee. I thought this was another good match. The dynamic of the match being fast-paced, high-flying luchador versus power and strength of Obafemi worked perfectly. This was a very enjoyable match. After this, I do expect Dragon Lee to start appearing more on SmackDown rather than NXT. Words, Leo, words. Just because, you know, he was doing that before having to take the title from Dominic. Why he took the title from Dominic, I don't know. I feel like having Obafemi defeat Dominic probably would have been the better idea, just because it would have put Obafemi on such a bigger pedestal. But yeah, Obafemi looked like an absolute beast in this one. There was moments where like he was on the back foot, but never was his title in jeopardy, in my opinion. The bite in the rope to get out of the submission foot was really as a, like, I think is this like his 6th match or something. I thought was really clever on like his behalf. And yeah, I can see him being 100% the future of NXT, or at least has the potential to be. But yeah, as far as showcasing new talent goes, this was like the perfect way to do it. Like, I was a bit skeptical of him winning the North American Championship so soon, but if he's going to have matches like this and stay this kind of dominant, then you know what, fucking fair play, you've made the right choice. He definitely stood out when the breakout tournament was announced, as one of the, you know, he is a pretty massive guy, but can really go in the ring as well. So yeah, I very much look forward to seeing the growth of Obafemi over the next few years. And yeah, he's definitely going to be main roster ready by the time we get there. You know, I can see him being like a Mark Henry type, which I think is really exciting. You know, if they're not going to put investment in Odyssey Jones on the main roster, then why not build Obafemi as this kind of dominant champion in NXT and then have it go on to the main roster, because it seems to work really well, and it's definitely something that NXT are showing they're putting big investments in. So yeah, I look forward for Obafemi. And Dragon Lee I'm not the biggest fan of, I'm not going to lie. Lucha Libre isn't really my thing, but I would expect him to kind of get involved in the Escobar and Rey Mysterio feud at some point, though if they do that, the numbers are outweighed, but I'm sure they'll get around that either way. But yeah, Dragon Lee's probably going to return back to the main roster, and Obafemi is made for the future, and I can't wait to see how he grows. And finally, in the main event, we had Ilya Dragunov successfully retain the NXT Championship against Trick Williams. This was a brilliant match, like an absolutely star-making performance for Trick Williams. This match plus the Iron Survivor were fantastic, and I feel like NXT is slowly going back to the black and gold style of, like, you know, 2016 to 2020, really. I know 2020 wasn't the best time for NXT, but I really enjoyed it, so. But yeah, Ilya Dragunov, I view him as like the Will Ospreay of NXT. I don't think he can put on a bad match with anybody ever. I certainly feel the same way about Will Ospreay, just about in wrestling in general. But yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. Trick and Ilya really showed how desperate they were to get the win in this one. I think it's the first time somebody's kicked out of 2 consecutive of Ilya Dragunov's finisher that I honestly can't remember the name of. But yeah, the close calls were very, very close. Like, unbelievably close. It had me on the edge of my seat, especially throughout the closing sequence. The final pin did come a bit out of nowhere, but that's my only real gripe with the match itself. But yeah, at the same time, I would have preferred one of the close calls being the finish rather than the way it actually went down, because they kind of went for Trick's finisher and Ilya's finisher at the same time. Ilya connected where Trick didn't and got the win. I understand where they were going for, or sorry, what they were going for. However, it just didn't quite translate as well, I think, as it could have. But that's like a very minor bad thing, like through a match that was absolutely fantastic. Ilya Dragunov is main roster ready, in my opinion. Like, I think it's only a matter of time until he goes up, and as soon as he drops that championship, he should be going up, as there's a certain Austrian intercontinental champion that will be waiting for him, and put them on a WrestleMania stage and watch magic happen, in my opinion. But for now, we get them at Stand and Deliver. And yeah, I mean, bring on Stand and Deliver. I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic show, and hopefully be a huge showcase on the day of WrestleMania Night 1, where NXT can really show how far they've come even more, and hopefully get more people invested in it, especially as, you know, people have the network anyway for WrestleMania. So why not watch NXT? You should watch NXT. I'm sure it'll be very good. But yeah, after the match, we had the inevitable become reality as Carmelo Hayes turned on Trick Williams. Yeah, they did the whole copyright in the corner thing, which is probably the biggest liar in WWE. I think the only person in front of that being the biggest liar is probably Vince McMahon. But yeah, I hope they give us Ilya versus Trick versus Carmelo for the NXT Championship in the main event of Stand and Deliver. That match would be a classic, and I know that Ilya hasn't exactly been involved, but he's the one that's been accused the most by Carmelo of attacking Trick Williams even. I just feel like it'd be an absolutely fantastic triple threat match. I understand if they just want to do Carmelo versus Trick Williams one-on-one in the main event without the championship, but a triple threat would be absolutely just lovely to watch, in my opinion. These three are absolutely fantastic in ring, and having a triple threat, no rules, no nothing, just have them go out there and kick the fuck out of each other, I think would be fantastic. But yes, I do expect, I don't know, because I feel like with Trick being taken out, he could be taken to the main roster as a feud. But I think have it main event the biggest show of NXT's calendar year, and then have them kind of go their separate ways as far as main roster NXT goes, because I feel like Trick should stay in NXT, whereas Carmelo should come up to the main roster more permanently, and Ilya should then come up to the main roster more permanently as well. I'm not saying Trick should win the match, but Ilya at some point this year should be on the main roster, or at least by the end of the year, sorry. But yeah, so brilliant match overall, match of the night. Probably one of the moments of the year afterwards, and everything just fit into place perfectly. Absolutely well done there for NXT. So those are my thoughts and opinions on NXT's Vengeance Day 2024. In the Cunning Sea, I got 4 out of 6 predictions right, which is pretty good. Good start, above half, which is always good in my opinion. And yeah, just a really good show overall. If Stand and Deliver is going to be anything like this show, then it's going to be one of the better NXT shows of the year, in my opinion. But then Stand and Deliver always is, because it's their WrestleMania, of course. So, but yeah, very enjoyable. The Dijak and Joe Gacy match was very fun. Oba Femi looked great. The women's match could have been better if it wasn't for the cash-in, and the main event was absolutely fantastic. So positives all around, in my opinion. And yeah, definitely go check out the show if you haven't already. And I'll ask you to follow the Instagram, of course, the _wrestling_retrospective. Do give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Do put a comment down below what you enjoyed about Vengeance Day and just any feedback in general. I've also started putting more polls on the community page of the channel as well, to kind of get some more interaction and kind of get you guys' opinion on stuff that's currently going on in WWE, AEW, and TNA and all that good stuff. But yes, thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.